It's our September 10th waiver wire episode. We'll get you updated on all those hitters and pitchers you should consider picking up on your rosters right now. Plus, a little bit about where we were on September 11th, 20 years ago. Beat the Shift is next. Welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. I am your host, Ariel Cohen, and with me as always, Ruvain Guy. How are you, Ruvain?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I want to wish you a happy and healthy Jewish New Year. It was just the holiday Rosh Hashanah, which means New Year, and happy and healthy one to you.
Same to you and to everyone who celebrates. Happy New Year to them as well.
Sounds good. So, brief episode today, just to get you set on your waiver wire picks. And we're just going to jump right into it right now. Ruvain, who you got for this weekend to pick up with only 3 fab periods remaining?
Okay, so I'm going a little bit deeper here for people who are looking on the waiver wire and trying to find these guys, because a lot of the guys we mentioned sometimes aren't there. Lane Thomas for the Nationals. He's playing basically every day. He's batting .294 with 3 homers and 1 stolen base in the last week. He's got 4 stolen bases ready for this year, and he's only owned in 8% of CBS leagues. So if you want to take a risk on him, he's a guy who's playing every day, and that's something you got to look for. With Alex Dickerson out for the San Francisco Giants and with Austin Slater out as well with a concussion, Darren Ruff, he's getting even more time. I've mentioned him in the past. He went 6 for 18 last week with a homer. He's only 6% owned in CBS, and again, he is getting playing time. And if you want stolen bases, I hate to say it, but this is the former Met. Andres Jimenez, who's only 13% owned in CBS, he stole 3 bases in the last week and batted .263 during the course of that time as well. He's got 10 stolen bases for the year, so obviously he's going to get a whole bunch of stolen bases now in September, so it'll raise his price when it comes to March next year.
All right. A couple guys, on the Giants, you got Lamonte Wade Jr., who's playing pretty much every day. In the last month, batting a cool .276 with 4 homers, 3 stolen bases, 12 RBIs. He's batting cleanup for the first place Giants. So, I mean, run production can't get better if you're batting cleanup on one of the best teams in baseball. So, give him a look. How about also Odubel Herrera, 20% owned. Since August 1st, 6 homers, .318 batting average. He's got 12 homers, 5 stolen bases on the year, .260 on the year, and 366 at-bats. So Odubel Herrera for the Phillies trying to win a playoff spot. That's a good one. And I'll give a catcher here. He's not going to be available in 2 catcher leagues, but he might be available in 1. 30% owned Alejandro Kirk of the Toronto Blue Jays. The guy is just a professional baseball hitter. I mean, he's got in just 130 at-bats, 7 homers, 22 RBIs, batting .273, and I actually think he's better than that. I think he's more of a .270, even .280 hitter with, let's call it 15 home run power. He really should be a number 1 catcher every league. I mean, if he's going to be the starting catcher next year, he is an easy number 1 catcher. So pick him up if he's available in your league right away while he is extremely hot.
And I really like that. Lamonte Wade pick there. He's probably one of the quietest 17 home run, 6 stolen base guys, batting almost .260 for the entire season so far on the market. And if he's available, you got to grab him.
Absolutely. Well, so saves. If you're desperate for saves, Rowan Wick, only 10% owned in Chicago. The Cubs are going to play some close games on the year. They traded their whole team, but they have Schwindel, who's hitting a homer practically every other hour at this point, keeping games close and winning games. They're going to get a couple save ops. He's free right now. He's 10% owned, so if you need somebody, pick him up. Pitcher preview, Ruvain. Let's see. Anybody to pick up who's got a good start this week, or a 2-start pitcher this week, or even a future 2-start pitcher?
I don't like any of the 2-star pitchers this week, so I'm going to go with a couple single-star pitchers. First one I'm going to mention is John Lester. He's actually only 20% owned in CBS. He's slated to pitch the Mets this week either when I think it's supposed to be Wednesday, and he's a possible future two-start pitcher the following week. In the last 4 to 5 starts, he's only allowed 1 run. Yes, he doesn't strike out that many people. He strikes out maybe 3 to 4 guys a game, but he's pitching against the Mets this week and a possible two-start next week. So that's an interesting name if he's available. And another guy who we mentioned actually in our prospect episode, and that's Glen Otto. His first start for the Rangers against the Astros, he went 5 innings with 2 hits and 7 strikeouts. And this week, he's playing against the Astros again. He's also a possible two-star pitcher, and he's only 12% owned in CBS. Now, it may be better off for people to be using these guys and or middle relievers, because if you've been using a lot of two-star pitchers recently, they can really destroy your ERA and WHIP, as a lot of my fantasy teams have noted. And it's just something to watch out for the rest of the season, because yes, you want to get those wins, but you can't be so desperate to get those wins and screw your ERA and WHIP for the entire season.
Yeah, wins, two-star pitchers are less effective these days down the stretch because pitchers aren't going deep into games. A couple of years ago, pitchers would pitch typically 6-7 innings, and, even if it was not the best start, give you a chance to win the game. Pitchers are pitching 4-5 innings these days. The longer you're in, the better you have a chance to win it, and if that's not going to be there, how much is that win worth it to you? Don't just play garbage pitchers, because, again, ERA can change hands. Somebody else can blow up and pass you. Those ratio stats, they're not set. They're not, well, it's late, it's not going to affect my ratios. Things do. Even batting average in labor, I moved up a batting average spot with some good play over this week. They're not set. Don't just poo-poo and say, well, just bank the count, just get the counting stats and poo-poo the ratios. It's still up in the air. You still got a month to go, and there are more changes. I'm gonna pick for pitcher preview. Well, first of all, he's not going to be owned in many leagues. He's not going to be available in many leagues. Vladimir Gutierrez, 70% owned on CBS, so still 30% available. He's got 9 wins on the year, 4 ERA. I like his schedule coming up. He's playing at Pittsburgh, and then the following week, 2 start versus Pittsburgh versus Washington. That is an excellent schedule. So if he is available in your league, probably in a 10 to 12 mixed, you pick him up. Let's go to Eric Lauer. He's my favorite pick of the week. He's playing at Detroit, and then he's 2 start the following week against St. Louis and New York, the Mets. I think that is a fantastic schedule for an under-owned pitcher. Definitely, if you want some wins, I think that could be a good spot to get them. 2 other 2-star pitchers don't love, but just wanted to tell you about John Gant. He's been pitching okay as of late, but he has a very tough schedule. Yankees and Toronto. That's a desperate play in my mind. Points league, you could try it. And Mitch Keller. I don't love this, but versus Cincinnati and at Miami, he has been better in his last 5 starts with a 4.5 ERA. But look at his FIP over the last couple of starts, a 3 FIP. He's pitching with a 4.38 BABIP very recently. I kind of think he's getting cheated, and he's actually been pitching very, very well lately. K/9 of 9 lately. So it's not as bad as you think. And one of those starts is at Miami, which is a good start. Pirates don't win many games, so it's not a great play for a win. But if you are desperate for wins, it's a possibility. Again, I'm talking NL only and maybe 15-team leagues. Nothing shallower than that.
I also want to mention one other guy. He may be available because people may have dropped him because he was injured the prior week. But that's what's his name from? I have him right here. John Gray. John Gray. He is 59% owned in CBS. But a lot of people dropped him the week before because he was injured. He had a forearm issue, but he's pitching his last outing. He had 8 strikeouts. He's at Atlanta and at Washington, which is not that bad. If you can deal with the ERA, then it may be an issue. He's very good for strikeouts. So if you need a guy for strikeouts, he's the guy.
Yeah, if you are chasing strikeouts, if strikeouts are very much clustered in your league, if there's a very large gradient in terms of the points, he is the perfect person because he will strike out roughly 15 guys next week. It's not a whim of whether Colorado wins or not. He will get the strikeouts. He's a strikeout pitcher. So John Gray is perfect for that spot if you should need that role. Again, it's always dependent upon what you need. At this point in the year, you're not picking for value in a roto league. You're picking explicitly for the categories that you need to make gains on. That's something to note. All right, injury time. Moving. Couple of people injured, couple people coming back. Give us the lowdown.
Yep. Okay, we'll start with Jameson Taillon from the Yankees, who was placed on the IL with a right ankle injury, right ankle tendon injury. They said it was partially torn. He's wearing a boot and already received a PRP injection. All that being said, the Yankees are hopeful he can return after missing only one start. If you believe that, I probably have a bridge to sell you. Willie Adames was placed on the IL with a left quad injury. He's already hitting in the batting cage, and he said he may not be 100% recovered until the offseason. So if you have him on your bench, you may want to think about other options. We talk about Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar is one of the league leaders in RBIs who's placed on the IL with left knee inflammation. We don't know how bad it was until they say he was on the IL, because at first they called it just a sore knee, but now he is actually placed on the IL. Joe Panic and Lewin Diaz can find some extra time at first base for the Marlins. Connor Joe, a guy we mentioned in the waiver wire in the past, was placed on the IL with a right hamstring strain. He received a PRP injection already, and he's hopeful to return this year. AJ Pollock was placed on the IL also with a right hamstring strain. Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, said last week that he would hope he'd only miss 2 to 3 weeks with this grade 2 strain. Billy McKinney will actually see some extra time in the outfield with him out. Brandon Nimmo was placed on the IL with a right hamstring injury between the innings of games of a doubleheader, actually. And actually, his recovery is supposed to be ahead of schedule. He may actually be activated this week if possible. And some updates. Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw had a left forearm strain, has been out for an extended period of time. Dave Roberts said that he should be activated this week to rejoin the starting rotation. Same with Lucas Giolito. He was on the IL with a left hamstring strain. He's hopeful to come back this Tuesday. Lance Lynn, right knee inflammation, hopeful to come back this weekend. Someone who's not coming back is Zach Britton. He had Tommy John surgery, a bone chip was removed. He was probably going to miss next year as well. And I'm also going to mention a couple other guys here. Mike Trout may or may not come back this year, leaning toward not. Jacob deGrom still leaning toward not coming back. And I'm also going to mention Chris Bassett because it's a good story. He's already throwing off flat ground. He had a facial fracture after getting hit in the face with a line drive. He said he would come back as soon as possible. The Athletics may be a little more cautious with him, but they may want him back for the playoff run. So you never know. He's not expected to come back this year, but you never know.
So while we have a little bit of time here, just to check on how are you doing in your leagues, Ruvain, with 3 weeks to go?
3 weeks to go. We got so stuff going on here. First of all, a couple of home leagues I'm in. I'm in second place in both of them. ERA and WHIP took a hit in one of them. Otherwise, I would have been first. I was in first last week where the teams were together. TGFBI, I was in 14th or 13th place about a month ago, but I don't give up, and I'm currently in 6th place, only a point and a half out of 5th. So I'm trying to make a good showing there. And we're together in a NFBC league, and that we've been out of basically since May. So, yeah.
Yeah, that league is that league's something else. And the thing is that with that league, and, one point that I do want to make to everybody here is that, we made some good picks. If you look at we had Trevor Rogers, Jose Ramirez, Ozzie Albies was fine, Walker Buehler, we hit on the right pitcher. We've hit on a lot of the right people, and there's you would think that, well, if you hit on a lot of good guys, you'll be doing well. And the truth of the matter is that what's more important than hitting on the right guys to earn you a very big return on those guys, what's almost more important is not to hit landmines, is to have more picks on your team that are right than wrong, rather than the gigantic leaps. Obviously, if you hit on the best guys, you're in great shape. But I think it's more important, and I of course will research this and show this mathematically, that the frequency is more important. The getting it right directionally is more important than just getting a few guys magnitude-wise. Do you agree with this, first of all?
Yes, I 100% agree, because it's all based on your philosophy. If you're doing what you're doing is right, you'll pick the right guys. Whether they get hurt, there are some things you just cannot control. Like, to give you an example, in my TGFBI league, which I'm in 6th place right now, I picked Marcelo Zuna with my 3rd pick. How am I supposed to know he's supposed to be out for the entire year? How am I supposed to know Keston Hiura is not going to hit? Otherwise, my first rounds have been all if you keep it the process, it's the way it's supposed to be. You had Garrett Cole, had Bo Bichette. Blake Snell has turned it around late. Nick Castellanos late. Paul Goldschmidt, who's been hitting. Will Smith. I mean, these are all guys who have been doing well. And later in the draft, I had Chris Bassett. I had Kyle Seager. I had Giovanni Gallegos. I even had Rondo Franco sitting on my bench. So if you look at your draft and how you did in March and